Jason Spears with drpremed.com, here to talk more about study skills and strategies that you can use immediately to see a boost in your GPA, or if you're studying for board exams, MCAT, or anything that you need to perform well on. Here's some tips and advice to get started with that. I already talked about having a calendar system in place for that and scheduling out your study sessions and your overall week. So one of the things that you need to do is, once you're actually in like a study session, what exactly are you going to be working on? What are you going to be doing? What you need to do is you have to have a predetermined list of activities that you need to get through. That might entail doing a reading on a chapter or so, maybe doing problems, a problem set, questions, whatever you might have that you need to get done. You should have a list that it's listed out in little increments of everything that you need to do, and you're going to make this in bite-sized chunks. And you want to write this out so as you're going through your study session, you can cross things off the list, and that's going to be like a little reward, a mental boost for you every time you cross something off that list, because you're going to show that you're making progress and you're going to feel like you're moving ahead, and you actually are, because you're getting things done on your list that you have. And one of the great things about the list, though, is sometimes you're studying and you're just not feeling something that you're doing. It's just too hard. It's not what you want to be doing. You're not motivated for it. With a list, you don't have to do everything in order on your list. You can jump around. That's one of the beauties of the list. You have your overall goal of things that you want to accomplish, but if something isn't working out for you, you can move on to something else that's on that list that you have written out for you. That way you're not fatigued and you're not wasting time, and you're just getting the most out of every study session that you want to do, and it's really going to help you out. So I want to just touch upon that topic of having a list, and a list needs to be bite-sized chunks. You don't say, oh, I'm going to read the whole chapter. You're going to say, I'm going to read XYZ amount of pages, or I'm going to learn this out of it. I'm going to do problems on this. I'm going to self-test on things that you need to study for. And I'll go into more detail about that, how you're actually going to use the list and some of these technical terms that I'm using for you in another video. But I think is really important, a short recap, is to have a list of everything that you need to accomplish in one study session. Break it down in bite-sized chunks, and so as you study, you can go and you can mark things off the list as you actually do it, because that's going to kind of build up a reward for you, and it's also going to keep you focused. If you're getting fatigued or you're just not motivated, you can move on to something else on your list. But you also have to keep in mind, there's some things that you just need to do regardless. So if you're just fatigued or bored, I might say you're being lazy. You need to man up, buckle down, and just get things done and accomplished, because that's what's going to happen in medicine. There's going to be times where you don't feel like doing things. You're going to be tired. You're going to wake up early. You're going to be at the hospital late. There's patients. There's a lot of demand for your time, and you're going to just have to suck it up and get through it, because that's what's required of you to be a physician. So you need to start doing that now, even with your academic studies, and not skipping around on too much just because you don't feel like doing something. But another strong point I want to raise in regards to skipping around and being motivated, you need to be focused when you study. So no music going in the background, TV. A lot of students say, oh, well, it helps me concentrate, it stays focused, I need background noise. No, that's really distraction. You're trying to give yourself an excuse of procrastinating in some way by saying that's actually helping you. Those are distractions. And if you're going to have any type of music or noise, have like a quiet ambient noise. Like some people like the rain, they like the sound, or even classical music, something like that. But anything that has lyrics talking, it's actually a distraction, whether you believe it or not. So you can fool yourself for how long you want to say it's keeping you focused, but it's not. So you really need to cut out the other outside distractions. While I'm on this topic, cell phones, internet usage, cut it off. Don't use it. There's psychology, there's studies, there's research that shows every time you have a disruption, it takes you a couple minutes to reset. I think it's at least 3 to 5 minutes or so, just to reset and get focused again on whatever you're working on. So any type of disruption is not something that you want to have going on while you're studying. So be sure to get rid of that and not have your phone ringing, pinging, going online, looking things up that's not related to specifically what you're studying, what you're learning, or talking to other people when you're studying, unless it's part of a study group. And also with that avenue of looking things up, I want to talk about, and being focused, I want to talk about something called the 50-10 rule. And basically what you want to do is you want to be focused intensely for 50 minutes or so, and then after 50 minutes you can take a 10-minute break. And that's going to, and when you're in that 50 minutes, no distractions, no wasting time, no lollygagging. You need to be totally engrossed in whatever you're studying and working on without any distractions, and you're going to really be productive, because it's like you have to study in this 50-minute time slot like you're never going to see the information again. That's the type of focus and intensity I want you to have on it. Or as soon as you're done with this session, you potentially have a pop quiz the next day that you go to class, or even as soon as you're done. So that's how intense your study needs to be. And how that's going to work is it's only recommended that you do 3 sets of the 50-minute study sessions with a 10-minute break. So that's about 3 hours or so of purely studying that you're going to do. And then you can do an optional 4th hour of studying. That's 50 minutes. But for that, it's recommended that you're not actually studying and learning new things. You would use that to review what you previously studied in that last hour. Because think about it, you're approaching 4 hours of studying. You're going to be fatigued. You're going to get tired. And so after you've done 3 of your 50-minute sets, or you do that optional 4th set, which is a more review of everything that you've done, you need to take a break. You need to take a break for at least an hour. Either 1 to 2 hours is best, but at a minimum 1 hour. And on that break, you're not going to do anything academic related. If you need to have lunch, you need to have food, you need to go to the gym, you need to do groceries, you need to do dishes, house cleaning, go out, talk to friends, do whatever you need to do, but just something that's not academic related to what you were previously working on, because you need time for your brain to reset and kind of get refreshed for another study session if you're going to do that. But there's only so much that you can retain at a constant pace. And if you're working hard, like I said, when you're focused to the point where you can potentially have a test on it, you should be drained. You should be exhausted after the study session, because you're working hard, you're not playing on your phone, you're not online having a good time. You're just focused at the task at hand and doing everything you can so that you can get into medical school, so that you can be a great physician. And so that's what you need to do in those study blocks that you have. And I know a lot of people believe, oh, they can have marathon study sessions where they study 12, 14, even 15 hours a day. And I'm like, no, you didn't. You played around. You were doing other things. You were not totally focused for that time period. And after you have your 2-hour break, you can go back and start another set of 3-hour study sessions where it's 50 minutes of on hard, intense studying with a 10-minute break, and do that in an optional 4-hour review. And you're going to really see improvement in how much you're accomplished in each day. But don't just have these pseudo marathon study sessions where you're not getting a lot done or accomplished, because that's not going to help you learn the material that you need to learn for your exam, your grades, your boards, your MCAT. So just really be focused and aware on that. And then also the aspect of being focused is this thing about sleep. You definitely need sleep. Get your 8 hours of sleep if at all possible. I know people say they don't need sleep, but you do need sleep. And going along with that, this is something my mentor told me, an anesthesiologist. He was of the impression is there's times when you need to study. There's also times when you're tired and you don't want to say you're studying just to say you're studying. If you're falling asleep, you're reading the same thing over and over, you're doing one of those head nods off, things like that, then you're not being a productive student. You're just saying, oh, I'm studying because I said I needed to study. You need to step back, wake up, either take a nap or something like that. But if you're going to take a nap, it only needs to be 20 minutes or less. Otherwise, you're going to get really groggy and tired, and you're not going to want to get back to studying. And that's just a very important aspect of it, is you don't study when you're totally fatigued and tired, because you're just putting in time and not quality time, and that's the most important thing to do when you're studying. Obviously, if you have an exam coming up or something that's major, sometimes you might just have to get the caffeine, get the coffee, do the exercise, whatever you need to do to stay awake and learn the material that you need to learn for your exams, so that you can do well on them. I know there were times in medical school where I was very tired, but I'm like, this is a task where you're going to do well if you know the information and learn it. It wasn't too much thinking, it was more of the memorization thing. So you know that you have to just keep going and power through, because everything that you learn most likely will show up, and those are going to be points. But if you say, oh, I'm tired, I need a rest, I'm going to take a nap and just go to sleep and try to pick it up later, it's not, you're not going to have time, and you know what you don't know because you didn't study it. And this is an exam that's based more on memorization, so you're going to lose points in that regard. So there are times where you definitely need to study, but there's other times where you need to get your sleep, or you need to take a nap and get yourself refocused. But overall, if you're having a calendar, if you're planning things out, you really shouldn't have those issues where you're fatigued or you're scrambling to learn things, because everything's so planned out. But I know life happens, and when exams, finals come around, there's just a huge amount of information that you need to get through. And so you're going to just do whatever you can to study and learn what you need to learn. And so these are some tactics and strategies that you can start using right now to really get ahead academically from a strategic standpoint. So I hope you go ahead and apply those. And again, this is Jason Spears with drpremed.com. Thank you.